Today we're going to paint up Carl from The Walking Dead. Hi guys, and welcome to Pyro Painting. Today we're going to be painting Carl from The Walking Dead All Out War by Mantic Games. But before that, if you're new here and you want to keep up to date with all these hints and tips, and specifically you want to see a bit more of The Walking Dead, because that's now going to be prominent on the channel, then please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a video. Now, on to the main thing here. We're going to be painting up Carl, like I said. Carl's a little bit easier than we did on the last Rick episode, but a very nice miniature to paint. So instead of me carrying on talking, I'll set up the camera and we'll get down to painting Carl. I'll see you guys in a minute. So let's get down to this. First off, we're going to start off with Kislev flesh. Now with any miniature that I do, I like to do the skin first. I always find it easier for me, maybe different for other people. That's how I like to do it. So I wanted it a bit different than the Rick skin, so I've gone very light on the tone. So that's why for the Kislev flesh. Again, not a lot of skin on this one, the same as the Rick, so it's pretty easy. So now we're on to Crusted Sore. Now Crusted Sore is basically going to be for his hoodie. Now, this army painter red, well, Crusted Sore as you can see, just doesn't go on well. It's one of the nigs I've had with this particular colour and a few of their brown ranges. But, you know, persevere like. Void Shield Blue. It's going to be used for the jeans, because I wanted like a very, very light, almost like a wasted jean look. You know, so it was like they'd broken down over time. Oak Brown's next. So Oak Brown is going to be for the hat. It's also going to be for the little belt around the waist. So I wanted to use kind of a minimum colours as I could, instead of me having to do like I normally do, which is go in through a hell of a load of colours straight away. So as you can see, concentrating also on the bottom of the rim, don't want no inconsistencies of how it's going to look. Again, this brown, you didn't need to thin too much. Best thing about the army painters, I got to admit, you don't really need to thin them as much as you would like the Citadel range and all that sort of thing. So they can be quite nice to work with in that sense. So there you go, just getting the belt, we're also getting the gun holster. And obviously at a later stage we're going to highlight it up and all that sort of thing. But as you can see, we're just making sure we're getting everything and not making, being extra careful so you don't have to redo the work. So, mummy robes now. So the mummy robes is going to be for the shoes. Now I wanted to give him what's basically the paint scheme Mantic gave him, which Mantic gave him a very light pair of shoes, a little bit of dirt here and there. It's like a skater boy style shoe, you know? So stuck with those colours, and we're also going to do the tassels on the hoodie as well. Again, they're not the thinnest, so you don't really have to worry. Just try to be extra neat, you don't have to redo your work. Now, matte black. Now what we're going to do is we're going to black out that gun, as we did with Rick. Just because it adds, it makes it easier. Especially there's a bit of metal in there as well, so, and the gun's going to have to be black. The only trouble I had was around the hand. It seemed to go a bit iffy. Also get the zip as well, don't forget about that. Alright, Goblins Skin. This is one of those ones I wasn't too sure on. But this is basically for the band of the sheriff's hat. It was either I was going to go Goblins Skin or Desert Yellow kind of colour. I wasn't too sure which to do. But I think in the end result, the Goblin Skin actually works pretty well. So as you can see, it's pretty simple. This is all the colour is for, is literally that band. Next thing, Greedy Gold. Now, Greedy Gold again is for just one thing, which is the sheriff's badge on top of his hat. Plain and simple, really easy. Next thing, Gunmetal. Now, your Gunmetal is going to be for the zip, and it's also going to be for a little piece of the gun, right in the middle of the barrel. Dark Stone's up next. Now, this is where I was a bit iffy. I wanted to use, obviously, the Dark Stone for the laces, give it a bit much, but the hair, I wasn't too sure. It kind of looks okay. I would have preferred to take it a little bit lighter, but it does look good as it is. So now we're on to the washing. So first off, Drakenhof shade. Well, Drakenhof Nightshade. Basically the blue wash from Citadel, and this is just basically just slap on them jeans. Trust me, when you're putting this on there with jeans, it really does add a lot to to the blue, and you don't really have to do a lot of highlighting. You can do if you choose, but it's not really necessary. This really does help this blue. Now, strong tone. Strong tone is going to be the dark brown color of Army Painter's range. This is going to be for the jacket, it's also going to be for the hat, it's pretty much going to be for everything else bar the skin. So as you see, we're just making sure we're getting a good old coat on everything. We don't want any missed patches, don't want no tide marks, which is going to be the worst thing. You know, you want a good, clean, you know, end result on this piece. Again, making sure that we're getting every single area. Now, we don't want to miss anything, so just make sure you know, spinning the miniature upside down, all that sort of thing, so you don't miss a single area. So now we're on to the next, which is the flesh wash. The flesh wash is pretty self-explanatory. It's purely for the flesh. As you can see, we're just making sure that we're getting every area, so we don't have to go back and redo any work that we've previously done. So now highlighting. Now with the highlighting stage, I like to take the original colour and add a bit of a cream to it. I find it adds a little bit more of a nicer effect, and this all kind of links together. So this one is a Kislev flesh with a little bit of Ushabti bone in it. As you can see, all I'm doing is basically dragging it across the cheeks, the nose, the chin, back of the hands, knuckles, fingertips. And that's just to basically frame that face and give it a nice kind of feel to it, you know, the protruding area, so it really does make the light bounce off it. So as you can see, like with all these layering I do, I like to go back and forth on a few things just to make sure I don't miss any specific areas. Also with the skin, I've used another part on top. So yeah, on top of using the Kislev and all that sort of thing, I also go to pure Ushabti bone. Now what this does is just obviously makes the skin a bit lighter, and you know, it's the skin tones I've actually picked up from the past, and I've actually preferred it. You know, it adds that kind of nice depth, especially for fair skin. So next bit, we're just going to highlight up the jacket. Now it's the same kind of principle with the skin, using the base color and then adding a bit of cream. So all I've done is use the crusted sore and then put in some skeleton bone or Ushabti bone, whichever one you're going to be using. And what that does, it gives you more of like a purpley color instead of like a burgundy. But once it's dried, it kind of dampens down. It actually does look quite nice as a highlight color. So again, we're just making sure that we're getting all those raised edges and making sure that we don't get anything in the recesses, because you don't want to have to go through all that trouble of redoing your work when you've just spent so long to get to just this point. Next bit is the jeans. Again, it's the same, using the skeleton bone or the Ushabti bone just to highlight up the colour a little bit. So now, as you can see, as I said, you didn't really need to do the jeans, they're perfectly fine as they were. But again, just to bring it up, nice bit of highlighting, it really does look brilliant on this model. And who doesn't like Carl? So, just finishing off the last bit of jeans, we're just getting every single ridge, making sure that we don't miss any particular one. So now we're on to the brown. So instead of me using the oak brown, I actually used monster brown, and then basically use that as the highlight color, because they do go quite well together, the oak brown and the monster brown. And what I've done is basically just drew two lines all across the band and then added a bit of highlight. Also the hat around the edges, and then just a little bit coming down from the top of the peak, just to add that kind of essence that, you know, light shining from above. And as you can see, it really does add a nice little effect, you know, to that brown. They really do go together, quite harmonized, really good. So now we're on to the tassels and the shoes. All I used for this was mummy robes. On top of, you know, it actually does bring it up pretty well. Next bit is going to be for the zip. This is going to be obviously the silvers, and it's going to be shining silver. So our next color is actually going to be to bring up that black. So what we're going to use is Necromancer Cloak. Necromancer Cloak is probably the darkest grey I have. So instead of me actually going around and actually having to mix it, I just use Necromancer Cloak. So Grelin Badlands. I think it's Grelin. So yeah, what we're doing is we're going to go over the whole area, and we're going to make sure we get into all those nooks and crannies. I like to use this because I use it on all the bases for The Walking Dead. This is the kind of look I'm going to be going for. Really does look good once you finish all the steps and all that. So there you go, to make sure we get into all those nooks and crannies. If you get a bit on the jeans, don't worry, a bit on the shoes, because it just looks like mud and it just looks like it's kicked it up. It looks really good as well. Just like kind of rub it off just so it just looks like the colour. So next step is going to be oak brown. Now this is just to make simply a shade, because I find when you put shade on this, it just seems to sink and you never get that effect you want. So if you just make your own, it works a hell of a lot better. So all I've done is took oak brown and just put in a little bit of, put some water in it to make it down to that kind of glaze wash consistency. Next, skeleton bones. Skeleton bones simply just to bring up the soil, a bit of dry brushing, give that texture, just a little bit of colour to make it pop more than anything. It does really add that kind of nice effect because you've obviously washed it down as well and you pull it back up. It's really does look good. So next thing, wasteland tufts. As you saw in the Rick video, this is what I'm going to be using for all of The Walking Dead. The zombies might have less tufts, but the actual survivors will have 2 or 3 on each. And give it a bit of a neat up, and there you can see the finished piece. There's Carl in all its glory. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time guys, see ya.